This is Murray Walker, stationary at Silverstone. You have just been round this marvellous 2.9 mile circuit with John Watson in 1 minute 12.7 seconds, and that is a speed of 145.2 miles an hour. You are looking at John Watson now. He is in 5th position on the starting grid, and that time of his was not fast enough to give him pole position, far from it, because the fastest man in practice was the little Frenchman René Arnoux in the Renault, 1 minute 11 seconds, an incredible speed of 148.6 seconds, just a little faster than his teammate Alain Prost, the winner of the French Grand Prix 2 weeks ago. Third fastest, and being tipped by many people to win today's race, Nelson Piquet in the Brabham Ford, and fourth fastest, the Frenchman Didier Pironi in the Ferrari Turbo. Then John Watson, fifth fastest, ahead of his teammate Andrea de Cesaris, and that is very significant. They are both in the new Marlboro MP4 cars, which are very, very quick and getting faster all the time. Seventh fastest only in practice, world champion Alan Jones, who just could not get the car to settle down to his satisfaction. There is the world champion that you're looking at now. And then eighth quickest was Gilles Villeneuve, winner of 2 Grand Prix already this year, in spite of the evil handling of his turbo Ferrari. And then ninth fastest was Carlos Reutemann for this Marlboro British Grand Prix of 1981. So the weather conditions, I'm glad to say, are extremely good for racing, because although the sky has been overcast, as you can see for yourselves, there are patches of blue there. There is no rain in the skies at the moment, and the course is dry. Indeed, it is quite sultry. 3 British non-starters for this event, unfortunately. Notably, Nigel Mansell, who failed to qualify his Lotus 87 after the 88B had been withdrawn after a lot of political aggravation, regrettably. The other 2 British non-starters, Brian Hinton in the Tolman and his teammate Derek Warwick, neither of whom were able to get the Tolmans to qualify. Indeed, you probably saw Brian Hinton's car bursting into flames as he came in at the end of a practice lap in that sequence that preceded this bit. So now it's just a matter of a very short time before this 68 lap, and that is 199-mile British Grand Prix starts. We'll be seeing the form-up and the warm-up lap, and that is the position for the World Championship. Carlos Reutemann leading Nelson Piquet by 11 points, so even if Reutemann fails to score any points in this British Grand Prix, he will still be leading the championship. Alan Jones moved down from 2nd to 3rd after the French Grand Prix and is 2 points behind Piquet, but 3 points ahead of Gilles Villeneuve in the Ferrari. Then Jacques Lafitte in the Talbot Matra, 17 points. Alain Prost, thanks to his French Grand Prix victory, up to 6th position. And in 7th place equal, John Watson and Riccardo Patrese with 10 points each. An enormous crowd, as you can see here at Silverstone today. They have been pouring in. Indeed, at 1 o'clock this morning there was a 2-mile traffic jam outside the gates waiting to get in, and they've been pouring in consistently ever since, expecting to see, and it will be, the fastest Grand Prix of the year, because in practice we've had speeds of nearly 150 miles an hour for a lap around this 2.9 mile circuit. Who better to tell us about that than James Hunt?
Yeah, well, the big news today has been in the warm-up. We have always this problem where the cars qualify and they run in qualifying trim, and the 2 fastest, of course, were the Renaults, who were sensationally fast and nearly a second quicker than any other car. However, on the morning of the race, which is not part of qualifying for the grid, they have a practice session when everybody fills up with fuel, puts their car into the trim in which they're going to race it. And Nelson Piquet was over a second quicker than anybody else in that second per lap in that run this morning in race trim. So if he was running his car full of fuel and in full race trim, because they're slower, of course, with the full fuel load in, and sometimes people don't put it all in. If he was full of fuel and in full race trim, he looks a very strong favourite for the race, except, of course, that he's got the big problem of getting past the Renaults, because they've got this additional power with the turbocharged engines. They're definitely more powerful than his Cosworth, and of course, you can't overtake in the middle of a corner, and if they accelerate away from him down the straights, he's going to have a big battle to pass them. The Renaults are a bit difficult to get off the line. They don't start very fast with their turbocharged engines, but there's quite a long run up to the first corner, and even if PK or some of the others can get past them at the actual start, there's enough time possibly for the Renaults to get to take charge of the position by the first corner here. It's a fair old run. So it could be a very interesting battle developing. PK looks to be the favourite for the race on race trim form, but he's got a big problem with the Renaults to get past.
The Brabham people, incidentally, swear that PK was on full tanks and was on race tyres when he did that sensational qualifying, a non-qualifying lap, a practice lap in the warm-up. There he is. We'll soon know the answer. PK, incidentally, was out in the Brabham BMW Turbo in practice over the last 2 days and was very nearly as quickly in that. And as you will see from the points position underneath, PK has already won 2 Grand Prix. Those are the Argentine and San Marino, and the other points are for his 3rd place at Long Beach and his 3rd place in the French Grand Prix. Nelson Piquet then, and he, after practice, is in 3rd position on the grid. And away they go now, round the warm-up lap before the start of this 68-lap race.
Yes, there they go, the cars just on their parade pace lap, their formation lap that they do, leading off with the pole man, warming their tyres up and getting round back to the start to make sure all their engines are running, so that we try and avoid the situation of having a stalled car on the grid. Weaving about a bit, that's to warm up the tyres. It's a manoeuvre of fairly negligible value, I always think, but they do it, get the feel of things. Up through Cox Corner, coming up to Beckett's, which is along with the chicane just about the slowest point on the Silverstone circuit. Silverstone, now they resurfaced the track a few years ago, about 4 years ago, 5 years ago. They put a very grippy surface on it, and it's now fantastically fast everywhere. This Beckett's corner that they're going around now used to be affectionately called a hairpin, where they take it at well over 100 miles an hour. And now they're coming down the Hanger Straight, which is the fastest part of the circuit, depending on the wind, going into Stowe Corner, very fast corner, taken in about 4th gear, depending on how they're gearing, at something like 130, 140 miles an hour. They're still on the Hanger Straight there, that's the group, all weaving around. I always think that one of these days, two people will weave in non-sympathy with each other and hit each other, which would be a very silly way to start your days after your afternoon's racing. But hasn't happened yet. And they're now they've come round Stowe Corner into Club Corner, another very fast one. Terrific circuit to drive on Silverstone. It's very open. You can really attack the corners, really throw the car in for the drivers. If your car's handling well, but they do require a little bit of bottle, because, for instance, Club Corner's 140, 150 miles an hour. Now they're coming up the final straight into the chicane, which will complete their lap. They'll start slowing down now to come up to form up on the grid for the start proper. There they are slowing down now. The pole man allowing the field to bunch up so that they come together. He doesn't want to sit on the grid too long waiting for the red light to come on, because the engines start to overheat. He's got his clutch going. He doesn't want to risk burning his clutch. When you've got your foot on the clutch, it can drag a bit, it starts to get hot. So he's letting the field bunch right up to him so that he doesn't have to stop for too long. As soon as all the field is stopped, the starter will then judge everybody to be in position, and he will put on the red light, which stays on for a minimum of 6 seconds and a maximum of 10 as laid down by the regulations, and then the field is on.
And it is René Arnoux on the right, Alain Prost on the left in the 2 turbocharged Renaults. They get away a bit slower from the start. Watch for Nelson Piquet, number 5, who is in the 2nd row of the grid. There are some 12,000 horsepower and more waiting to be unleashed there as we wait for the red lights to go on. And as we look at them now, René Arnoux is on the right, and on the left is Alain Prost. The red lights are about to go on, the revs are rising, and away they go. Up to the first right-hander at Cox. And it's Pironi up with them.
Piquet in fourth place, I see there.
It's Pironi going through into second place. The two Renaults have got the Ferrari sandwiched between them as they have gone round Copse, up to Maggots, round Beckett's. And the rest of the field streams through on this first flying lap in this 68 lap down the Hanger Straight onto Stowe Corner. And there is Michele Alboreto in the Tyrrell, already in trouble. He's had very little trouble in practice, qualified well, but Alboreto out of the race seemingly already as they come up towards the completion of the first lap, streaming away from Stowe Corner, from Stowe up to Club, from Club up to Abbey, the very, very fast left-hander, which is some 160 miles an hour.
Well, a pretty uneventful start, very clean, they all got away well. The feature of the first lap being, of course, there is one of the Arrows cars in the catch fencing. I can't quite see what.
And is Prost leading from Pironi with in third position Villeneuve. So the two Ferraris are up ahead of René Arnoux. Piquet is in fifth position, and Alain Prost, the man who was in second position at the end of practicing, slower than his teammate René Arnoux. And look at the terrific lead that Prost, the Frenchman, already has, and it is turbos in first, second, third positions. Didier Pironi in the Ferrari second, Gilles Villeneuve is third, René Arnoux is fourth, Nelson Piquet is in fifth place, and it's one of the two Williams cars in sixth position.
Well, the race has already established that the Cosworth engine cars have got a big problem. The turbo-powered cars used their power very well on the first lap, particularly the Ferraris that have even managed with that. They seem to have more power than the Renaults as well. And Villeneuve's going inside Pironi, having a go. Can't see whether he's quite made it or not, but they've got into a bit of a mess there. And one of the Ferraris has lost ground. But the trouble is that Piquet, who's sitting there behind them, no doubt very worried that he's got four turbo cars in front of him to try and get by, has been unable to capitalise on that bit of a mess as they all arrive together.
And it's Pironi in second place. Arnoux is ahead of him, back into third position. Villeneuve is fourth, and then it is Arnoux in fifth place. And there goes Pironi through. And Pironi ahead. Didier Pironi in the Ferrari ahead, with the Renault tucked up behind him. And yet another one. It's Derek Daly into the pits, number 17, Derek Daly in the march, in the pits, as this terrific battle continues around the circuit. They're now down the Hanger Straight for the second time in this 68 lap race. Don't forget, ahead of this lot, as René Arnoux comes up and tries to take Didier Pironi, the Ferrari with the white helmeted Didier Pironi is in second place. There is the leader. That was Alain Prost going through. Now, Pironi second, Arnoux third, Villeneuve fourth, Ben Piquet and Jones and Watson and De Cesaris. That is the order on the second lap. There is the leader, Alain Prost, in the turbocharged Renault, number 15, 26 years old, his 20th Grand Prix. And it looks to me as though Arnoux is taking that second place. Indeed he is. Arnoux is taking the second place from Pironi. And Piquet is ahead of Villeneuve, and Alan Jones is still in sixth position. So, there it is. And Villeneuve is going to try and Piquet is ahead of Villeneuve now. Alain Prost leads. René Arnoux is second. This is lap 3. Pironi is in fourth place in the Ferrari as they stream round and down towards Beckett's, and Piquet, having got past Villeneuve, is right up with Pironi.
We've got a situation now with the Ferraris almost like jokers in the pack, because the Ferrari chassis is not good. It's not up to the standard of the others, but they're making up for it with the terrific power of their engines. They've definitely got the most powerful engines on the course. But you see Piquet tucked right up there behind Pironi. The trouble for Piquet is, of course, that he's got Villeneuve right behind him in the other Ferrari. He's sandwiched between them, but every time they get to a straight, he goes away. But he's got to attack.
But the amazing thing is that on this, the fourth lap, Alain Prost is leading on lap 4 by 7 seconds. And Arnoux is already starting to pull away from the battle for third position now. There's the battle for third, and it's Pironi in the Ferrari, followed by Piquet, followed by Villeneuve, followed by Jones. Through the chicane, Arnoux, Pironi, Piquet, Villeneuve, Jones, and off goes the Ferrari. Into the catch fencing goes De Cesaris. Alan Jones is off. So out of the race is Alan Jones, Villeneuve, and De Cesaris.
Well, that's a real shame.
There is Andrea De Cesaris out of his car. He looks perfectly all right, and Villeneuve has rejoined the race, but Alan Jones is out of his car. World champion Alan Jones on lap 5, out of the race.
Well, that was a mistake by Villeneuve, and it's very bad luck for the cars following. Watson lost a lot of ground as well. Alan Jones's car was damaged. Here we have a replay. See, Villeneuve, the third of the cars, coming now. He loses a bit on the curb. He spins the car. Alan Jones can't avoid him behind, and the following runners, they can't see anything. A great shame for the following drivers. De Cesaris going so well. He's had a lot of trouble with crashing. That certainly wasn't his fault. He'll be furious about that. But Watson at least managed to get away. You see John Watson on the left of your screen there, just about to get away. There's De Cesaris looking most unhappy about the whole thing, which I can sympathise fully with him for.
And at the end of that, the next lap, the one that has just been completed, Alain Prost is now leading his teammate René Arnoux, and Villeneuve's car absolutely shredded. Front wing broken, the rear wing battered, and his near side rear tyre exploded. And ironically, Villeneuve goes off the circuit at a standstill, and I say ironically because he was going extremely well in the race, extremely well in practice. So now Stur is out of the race, Alboreto is out of the race, Daly has gone into the pits, world champion Alan Jones is out, De Cesaris is out, Villeneuve is out, and John Watson spun. And we are now on lap 6 in this 68 lap race. Here is the leader. Now look down the field, and it would seem even at this early stage as Andrea De Cesaris broken-heartedly and furiously sprints across the circuit that the Renaults must almost certainly, unless they have mechanical trouble, win their second Grand Prix in succession, because Prost has an enormous lead.
I would have to dispute that, Murray, because Piquet has now got a clear run at the two Renaults. He's got clear of Pironi in third place, and there you see Alain Prost all on his own in the lead. But Piquet, the Ferraris, as I was saying when all the excitement happened, are like jokers in the pack, and they're holding everything up, and they've now got cleared away. Look at Prost's lead, absolutely huge. There is Nelson Piquet, now in third place, and chasing René Arnoux and catching him. There's Arnoux coming now. No, sorry, that's Piquet. That's the gap you've just seen from Arnoux to Piquet.
3.5 seconds, and at the end of lap 6, the order in the lead: Prost, second Arnoux, third Piquet, fourth Pironi, in fifth position Reutemann in the Williams, in sixth position Andretti in the Alfa Romeo, then in seventh position John Watson, who of course went off and has rejoined the circuit. There's Piquet in third position. Behind Piquet, you see the Scarlet Ferrari of Didier Pironi, and we are on lap 7 out of 68. Completing the lap, the leader, Alain Prost. Prost exits the chicane, down towards Cox, the right-hander, past the broken Williams of Alan Jones. Now look for the gap between René Arnoux there and the third place man Nelson Piquet there, with Didier Pironi in fourth place. It is still about the same. 3.58 seconds is the gap between number 5 Nelson Piquet, Nelson Sotomayor to give him his correct name, because Piquet is a nom de plume which he used in his early days of racing in order to prevent his parents in Brazil from knowing that he was racing. But anyway, Piquet or Sotomayor, it looks to me as though he is gaining now, definitely, on René Arnoux in the turbocharged Renault, who is in second place, following his teammate Alain Prost. And that was Didier Pironi in fourth place.
Alan Jones, 4 laps of the Grand Prix you won last year. What happened?
Well, I was just trying to get past the mobile chicanes with their 800 horsepower. And Villeneuve started hopping all over the curves at the chicane and finally lost it on the last one and spun broadside right in front of me. And I put my brakes on and I was having difficulty seeing which way to go because there was so much smoke. I just like flying into a cloud. And he just slid back and I T-boned him.
Did you get hit by anybody else, Alan?
I don't think so. I noticed that De Cesaris is out, but I don't know whether he had his own little separate accident or whether he hit me.
Anyway, you're okay yourself, but not feeling awfully happy.
No, I'm going to have a couple of Fosters.
Thank you, Alan, and bad luck.
Okay,
Thanks.
thank you.
Lap 8, the race leader. Lap 9, the race leader, Alain Prost now. And he is 7 seconds, 7.04 seconds ahead of René Arnoux, with Piquet in 3rd position. And Piquet is still about 3.2 seconds behind the second of the 2 Renaults. And don't forget that as he goes through the chicane, and number 15, Alain Prost, leading for the 2nd time in 3 weeks, a Grand Prix. He won in France, and Piquet going through. Now, there is the gap between René Arnoux, number 16, and Nelson Piquet, 3rd place man, number 5. Watch now, look down the circuit. Where is Didier Pironi? The answer is there, and Pironi is some 3 seconds, 8 seconds behind Piquet, who is in 5th position. Andretti goes through, Watson goes through. Coming towards us now was Patrick Tambay, but we're back with the battle for 2nd position, and it is hotting up. It is less than 3 seconds now. Pironi. There goes Piquet. Leading the race, Alain Prost. In 2nd place, René Arnoux. In 3rd place, Piquet. And where is Didier Pironi? In the background. Didier Pironi, the Frenchman, the man who won the Belgian Grand Prix last year. Nearly won at Monaco, nearly won in Spain. Has now, there is Carlos Reutemann. Lap 10, it's still Arnoux leading. It's still Prost leading. It's still Arnoux in 2nd position. But now, there goes Piquet through the Pironi through the chicane, followed by Reutemann. And look at the heat haze from the turbos. And Carlos Reutemann, number 2 in the Williams, is up into 5th position then, chasing Pironi, who in turn is chasing Piquet. Piquet in 3rd position. 4th position, Didier Pironi. 5th position, Carlos Reutemann. Don't forget that Carlos Reutemann is leading the World Championship. One of his challengers, Alan Jones, is out of this race, and so therefore is not going to score any points. And that is the terrific scrap that's going on at Silverstone between Didier Pironi, number 28, and Carlos Reutemann, number 2, for 4th position. Reutemann in 5th place.
Yeah, Reutemann's trying very hard to get round Pironi. You might have heard Alan Jones just now in his interview refer to the mobile chicanes. He was in fact referring to the Ferraris because they really are very annoying to the other drivers. They've got all this power, but they've got a very bad chassis, and it's a real pig to drive. Their poor drivers do their best, but nobody can pass him. And Reutemann, you see, is stabbing away. Every time they get to a straight, Pironi pulls away from him, holds him up all through the corner, and there's absolutely nothing that a driver can do except get very frustrated behind as the people in front of the Ferrari pull further and further away from him, and he loses more and more touch with the rest of the race.
But look at this battle now, because it's Pironi 4th, behind him is Reutemann, and there's Piquet. That's Piquet. Nelson Piquet's gone off again, and it's getting to be a habit, regrettably, with Nelson Piquet. It's by no means the first time he's done it. The man who was in 3rd position in the British Grand Prix on lap 12 is out of the race, and obviously I should think he must have caught his foot. Let's look at the front of the car. Yes, the offside front wheel has been pushed into the monocoque, It must probably bent the tub, and that's where the driver's feet are. And let us hope that it's just a wrenched ankle for Nelson Piquet, who was in third position at the time he went off, has been lifted over the barrier. The car in the catch fencing, and that means, of course, that now behind Piquet, the battle is now for third place between Didier Pironi in the Ferrari and Carlos Reutemann. And here it is. And behind them is John Watson, who has got ahead of Mario Andretti. So third, fourth, fifth, sixth men go through. Third, number 28, Pironi. Fourth, number 2, Reutemann. Fifth, number 7, John Watson. And in sixth place, number 22, Mario Andretti. It's Ferrari, Williams, Marlboro, Alfa. And ahead of all of them, the 2 Renaults of Prost and Arnoux.
Yes, Renault's having a fairly easy time of it now. Their main threat has gone. We unfortunately didn't see what happened to Piquet, how his accident took place. But if that was a mistake, that was certainly pretty inexcusable, because of course he was all on his own. He wasn't under any pressure. He was just running after the Renaults, trying to close the gap. And he's been making mistakes recently. I think that's the 4th race running that he's no, I tell a lie, the French Grand Prix he finished in, as Reutemann having a go, but still unable to do anything about the Ferrari. And Watson's climbing over his back view now. Watson, in fact, is very well placed to tow past Reutemann into the chicane here. If you watch, he's getting a good draft. He'll pull out.
This is the battle for third. And indeed, Watson is he? Yes, he's going through on the inside. John Watson up into 4th position with a superb passing manoeuvre past Carlos Reutemann, and now he's setting about Didier Pironi, the 3rd place man. John Watson, who was 3rd in Spain, 2nd in France in this ever-improving Marlboro MP4, the Ulsterman, the only British driver in this British Grand Prix of 1981, and he was very bullish about winning, and he goes through into 3rd position.
Fantastic driving by Watson. The only point is, can the Ferrari now with its power catch him down the straight? Watson did a beautiful passing manoeuvre on Reutemann because he feinted to his left. Reutemann protected that. He then moved inside. He fooled it out. Oh, I think the Ferrari's in trouble. The Ferrari seems to have slowed down. So all that beautiful driving by Watson has been wasted. What a shame. Now we're going to see it again, because he's having to come from a long way behind the Ferrari, and he's nearly slid into him. Pironi kept out of the way very nicely, and Watson was through. And it was a fine piece of aggressive driving. Watson's driving really well now. His confidence is back and everything's fine. Whoop.
And the Ferrari, the turbo is on fire. I suspect that's the trouble. That great plume of smoke is one of the from oil burning in one of the twin turbos, which are atop the engine behind the driver. And look, I just saw a spurt of flame, but it looks to me as though it has gone out. So Pironi is definitely, like his teammate Gilles Villeneuve, who went out on lap 5 after that crash, out of the race. And we really are losing drivers all the way through the race now, and on lap 14 it is still Prost leading Arnoux, with Watson up into 3rd place, and there he is ahead of Carlos Reutemann. In 4th place it is now in the Alfa Romeo Mario Andretti. In 5th position it is Jacques Lafitte in the Talbot. Then behind Lafitte it is Riccardo Patrese, and as you see, the best lap so far, Prost in a time of 1 minute 15.2, and that's a speed of 140 miles an hour, and that is some 4 seconds, over 4 seconds after his fastest lap in practice, which was almost the same as the fastest lap in practice, that of René Arnoux, in 1 minute 11 seconds exactly. 148.5 miles an hour, and I don't like the look of that. The ambulance going out and crossing the course in front of the competitor, the leader, and obviously that is to pick up Nelson Piquet from Beckett, and of course we will let you know as soon as we know ourselves what the problem is with Nelson Piquet, with the ambulance having gone out to collect him, as the marshals push Didier Pironi's broken Ferrari down the concrete road and back to the pits. There are the St. John ambulance people over the barrier. Piquet still on the ground. on the other side of the Armco and the wood palings, just a few feet away from his car, and the St John's people going out to treat him. Meantime, into the chicane, and out of it again goes the race leader, Alain Prost. He has now completed 16 laps out of 68. Look now for the gap as René Arnoux goes through. I can tell you that the gap is 8.4 seconds according to my timing. That's Arnoux, second place, and Arnoux, number 16, is 11th equal in the World Championship with only 5 points. So he really needs points to lift himself in the championship. And that is one of the Ligiers that's being passed as John Watson goes through in third place. And meantime, Riccardo Patrese has gone up to 6th position ahead of Lafitte as we look at Watson third, Reutemann in 4th place, Mario Andretti in 5th position, and then Riccardo Patrese, I remind you, has gone through into 6th position. That is the order. And there is Riccardo Patrese in the background, being followed by Jacques Lafitte and Elio De Angelis and Hector Ribac and Derek Daly. And behind Derek Daly is Eddie Cheever, and behind Eddie Cheever is Keke Rosberg, the Finnish driver. There behind Rosberg is Slim Borgud, followed by Jean-Pierre Jarier and Marc Sura in the Theodore. And into the pits comes the race leader. What a sensational British Grand Prix this is turning out to be, because now Alain Prost is in trouble. And look at the uproar in the Renault pit, and he's coming in for tyres, obviously. Up goes the car, down go the jacks.
Well, that's very interesting, because that may well mean that René Arnoux is on the same. He may well be on the same compound of rubber, and if they've made an unwise choice, got a little bit too soft, because they certainly seem to be going quicker relatively in the race than they did in practice. Maybe they were frightened by Piquet's form this morning, put on soft tyres, and have paid the price. Anyway, we shall see, because if that is the case and they're in tyre trouble, then of course Watson is in a very strong position. He's now moved up to 2nd place already because of the pit stop, and we'll have to wait and see what happens to Arnoux' car.
New race leader, René Arnoux, the man from Magny-Cours in his 41st Grand Prix, the ex-kartsman, and Piquet being lifted into the ambulance. Very obviously conscious, he was looking down at the ground, raising his head as he went into the ambulance. I hope and trust it is nothing worse than a sprain. We'll let you know as soon as we know. Meantime, René Arnoux goes through, completing lap 16. There's the new leader, the current leader. But, of course, as we have a new leader, so we have a new 2nd place man too, albeit a tremendous way behind the man that we're looking at. And the new 2nd place man is that man, and that man is John Watson, number 7 in the Marlboro MP4, 3rd in Spain, 2nd in France. Reutemann, there he is behind him in 3rd position, but Reutemann is a long way behind now John Watson, because you will remember John Watson bundled his way brilliantly past Reutemann, and that is the distance between the flying Marlboro and the almost equally quick Williams, and that is Alain Prost in the pits.
Yes, Murray, it looks actually as if the tyre change was just a routine thing. When a car comes into the pits, you stick a new set on anyway, because the newer the tyres are, the better they work. And obviously he's got some sort of mechanical drama. So my speculation that there may be trouble coming for Arnoux on tyres is entirely wrong. I think that was just a routine thing while they did whatever work they've had, and it looks pretty terminal, because he's now lost 2 laps already in the pits, and even if he rejoins, he will not be in contention.
Lap 19, and René Arnoux leads John Watson by a very considerable margin in this 68-lap race. Then in 3rd position, behind John Watson, Carlos Reutemann. In 4th place is Mario Andretti. In 5th position is Riccardo Patrese, as Patrick Tambay, in the 2nd of the 2 Talbot Matra cars, goes into the pits. And
well, anybody who's ever broken down on the motorway will know the frustration that Alain Prost is feeling now, because it is nothing more nor less than plug problems. And if you look at this engine and the work the mechanics are doing, you'll see that changing a plug on one of these cars isn't like changing a plug on yours and mine. A major problem for Renault. He's been in the pits now more than 3 minutes.
Well, that means with an over 3 minute stop already, and obviously more time to be spent there, that the race is finished as far as Alain Prost and victory is concerned. But Renault still have their chance for a second Grand Prix win in succession, because there is René Arnoux, number 16, the man who is 11th equal in the championship, and he's now 17 seconds ahead of John Watson. And John Watson is about 4 seconds ahead of Reutemann, but Reutemann is dropping back. 6 seconds behind Reutemann is Mario Andretti. 14 seconds behind Andretti is Riccardo Patrese in 5th position. And very, very close to Riccardo Patrese, because we saw him a few moments ago, Elio De Angelis in the Lotus, and he is only a second or so behind the arrows of Riccardo Patrese, the leader. Fourth in France was René Arnoux, 9th in Spain, 8th in San Marino, 5th in the Argentine Grand Prix, and 8th at Long Beach. So it's been a very poor season for him, because he won 2 Grand Prix last year. Into Woodcote, closing up on and about to lap Keke Rosberg, the Finnish driver in the Fittipaldi car. There's Jarier, number 32, followed by Rosberg, the race leader, René Arnoux, and he has now completed 21 of the 68 laps. And as we look at René Arnoux, we know that Siegfried Stoer is out of the race, so is Michele Alboreto. Derek Daly came into the pits, but is very much back in the race, albeit a lap adrift, as now Arnoux comes up, and watch him past Keke Rosberg and close up on Jean-Pierre Jarier, the Frenchman who has driven for so many Grand Prix teams and has taken the place of the injured Argentine driver, Guerra. And for the first time for a long time, an Osella, because that is what Jarier is driving, has qualified for a Grand Prix. And Arnoux is not finding it as easy to... Yes, he is. He punches past on his terrific power. Well, the viewers of Channel 9 in Australia will need, as paper bag flies up in the background, will need, I hope, some consolation, because Alan Jones is now once more out of a Grand Prix. It's been a terrible year for him. He started off well enough by winning the first official championship race of the year at Long Beach. Then he was second at Brazil and 4th in the Argentine, and then things really started to come adrift for Alan Jones.
Yes, it's the old story. You know, the luck is just not running for Alan at the moment. He was that accident that put him out of the race was no fault of his, nothing to do with him at all.
Alain Prost, we spoke to you a fortnight ago when you'd won your first Grand Prix. Looked like you're going to win another. What happened?
I think it's the engine. I don't know why. I don't know what exactly, but it's the engine. The car was perfect. I'm very disappointed about that.
Do you know what happened to the car exactly?
To the car, it's the engine. It's the engine anyway, but I don't know what exactly.
You felt it going when you were in the lead, did you?
Yes, the last lap, everything was going very right. But the last lap, the engine go down, and I stopped because anyway it was finished for me.
But you still have a Renault teammate out on the track.
Yes, for sure. But you know, I'm very disappointed because 9 points for me today was it was possible for me to win championship, but now it's finished.
Alan, we hope not. Thank you for talking to us.
Well, as a very disappointed Alain Prost disappears, there in second place is John Watson, number 7, and the time difference between him and René Arnoux is some 25 seconds, and that is on lap 24 out of 68. Still a long, long way to go, but the Renault, of course, is under no pressure. 25 seconds is a very, very considerable cushion, and Arnoux, as I have said many times before, will know exactly what the situation is. His team manager, Gerard Larousse, the great ex-racing driver and rally driver himself, is watching every move of Arnoux and everybody against him. And 6 seconds, there, 7 seconds is the gap between Watson and Reutemann. Reutemann being in third position, so there's some 25 seconds between Arnoux and number 7, Watson, and 7 seconds between Watson and Reutemann. But there again, I suspect that the gap is extending, and it's pretty static for the first 3 places on lap 25 out of 68. As into Woodcote to complete another lap comes the third place man through the chicane, Carlos Reutemann.
Yes, it's all gone pretty static at the front. It looks now really as if Arnoux only has to stand up to win, look after mind his P's and Q's, look after his car, make sure he gets on no problem, and then keep his fingers crossed and trust that nothing breaks on it, nothing goes wrong. Watson seems to have the measure of Reutemann fairly comfortably and is pulling away well. As we were just saying for our viewers on Channel 9 in Australia, great shame that we lost Alan Jones yet again to entertain you with, but some other news is that I'm afraid your Australian cricket team seem to have bowled the Poms out for very few runs at all, so I should think England are going to have to follow on, so at least there's some good news for Australians.
As René Arnoux, with good news for France, goes through the chicane and completes his 25th lap. Arnoux, with that 25-second cushion, has just passed Marc Surer, the amiable Swiss driver who is in the Theodore car. And the power of this Renault really is most impressive. I'm sure Arnoux will be feathering the accelerator and taking things very easily. I was saying that he would be getting pit signals through his team manager, Gerard Larousse. He's on lap 26 now. And as you see, the order is Arnoux leading Watson within third position, Reutemann, 3 different makes of car in the first 3 places, then another one, the Alfa Romeo of Mario Andretti 4th, another one, the Arrows of Riccardo Patrese 5th, and the 6th different make of car in the first 6 places is Elio De Angelis's Lotus 87 in 6th place.
Hang on, that's De Angelis coming.
And there is De Angelis. I spoke too soon. Elio De Angelis, who started off practicing in a Lotus 88B, had it turned into a Lotus 87, which you do by removing a large number of components, mainly bodywork, is having a mysterious conversation with somebody. I can't imagine what this is about. Any ideas, James?
No, I've no idea, unless he was black flagged. He may well have been black flagged. He looks pretty upset about something. That was an official.
I accuse you, he is saying. And it's Robert Langford he's talking to. And Robert Langford is one of the chief international officials. I guess that may be the situation. Maybe, and we are hypothesizing, we are guessing. We didn't actually see a black flag being put out, but it was quite evident. Every picture tells a story, and that picture certainly told one. And Elio De Angelis was in clearly just as much of a black rage as Andrea De Cesaris, his Italian compatriot, was when he went off at Woodcote. And he's talking to David Team. The man in the black hat is his Essex co-sponsor, David Team, who for the last 2 years has solely sponsored the Lotus team. And De Angelis conversing with David Team. And now some of the press, all those are press representatives, piling round him to find out what has happened. He's standing in front of the Brabham pit. And this is turning into a very strange British Grand Prix, and I'm beginning to wonder, at the rate of decay that we've had over the last few laps, how many cars are going to be left in it at the finish. I'm just looking at the lap chart while I talk, And there are 14 cars left out of the 24 that started, because with De Angelis out, Prost out, Pironi out, Piquet out, Villeneuve, De Cesaris, Jones, Alboreto, Storr, the names go on, and we can't afford to have much more of this, or we're not even going to have a six-man leaderboard at the end of the race. Second place, John Watson. There's Chapman. Extremely agitato. Peter Collins on the right is the Lotus team manager with the yellow stripe down his arm. There's Ernie Huppert in the background in the Lotus cap. We will hope to get official information on this as soon as we can, and we're still waiting to hear what happened to Nelson Piquet. Disconsolate Barry Gill, I'm sure, will be on his way to Elio De Angelis. If Elio is prepared to speak to him, he doesn't look in the best of humour at the present moment, and who can blame him? John Watson going through in second place, 25 seconds or so in front of him, René Arnoux. And now John Watson, as we look at Reutemann, number 2, John Watson is 9 seconds ahead of number 2 in third position. But Carlos Reutemann hasn't got too much to worry about. He's leading the World Championship with 37 points. Piquet, who is in second position, on the World Championship, of course, is out of the race. Jones, who is in third position in the World Championship, is out of the race. So if Carlos Reutemann can just keep rolling along in the places, he will get 1 point even for sixth position. But he's in third place at the moment, and he gets 4 points for that if he finishes in third position. And that would give Carlos Reutemann a total of 41 points. And the second place man behind him at the present moment would still be Nelson Piquet with 26 points, and Carlos Reutemann would be virtually unchallengeable for the World Championship. However, that is all hypothesis, and a lot can still happen in this race, because we are only on lap 30. We have not even yet reached half distance. John Watson, second place. Round the right-hander at Beckett's. Round Chapel Curve, which is up into fifth gear, down the hanger straight, tremendously fast, coming up to some 175 miles an hour, and it's fourth gear for Stowe. You take that at some 150 miles an hour, letting his car go out to the side, rippling over the concrete, now down the straight and into Club Corner. Some well over 10,000 revs, and that's 150 miles an hour in fourth gear. From Club up into fifth gear, round the left-hand sweep at Abbey Curve, nearly 10,000 RPM, and that is some 160 miles an hour. And Barry Gill is with Colin Chapman in the pits.
Well, Barry, you said it was a bizarre race, but the most bizarre thing in Lotus history has just happened. Colin Chapman, why has Elio De Angelis come in?
It's nothing ever. I've never known this happen before in motor racing. Apparently he was black flagged because they felt that he didn't respect a yellow flag about 10 laps sooner. But normally, of course, if you're going to black flag a car, you get the team to do the black flagging, and only then, if the team doesn't black flag, then the stewards do it. I've never heard of this before. I just can't believe it. There's no way he should have been black flagged on the start line like that.
Well, surely what normally happens is you have a minute's penalty, isn't that right, Colin?
No, normally it's an admonition. They slow the car down, talk to him, tell him he's been a naughty boy, and then let him go. Not make him exclude him from the race like this. That's crazy.
Colin, I have to say it hasn't been your weekend, has it?
You can say that again.
Thank you for talking to us. Very disappointed Colin Chapman.
It certainly has not been Colin Chapman's week. First of all, he came here with 2 Lotus 88Bs, only to have them excluded after a lot of political hassling. Then they were converted into Lotus 87s, one of which, because of all the problems they had had, Nigel Mansell failed to qualify. Elio De Angelis got into the race all right and was much faster in the pre-race warm-up period today. There are the positions after 30 laps, and it confirms, of course, that Arnoux is leading with Watson second, Reutemann third, Andretti in fourth position, Riccardo Patrese in fifth place, and Jacques Laffite in sixth position. And René Arnoux, that we are looking at, has just lapped Derek Daly in the march. And Derek Daly, who is number 16, is actually well down in the running. He's last in the running, he's in 12th position. And on the 32nd lap, as we look at René Arnoux taking Woodcote, he is, of course, in the lead from John Watson. There goes Laffite through the chicane, followed by Daly. In third position is Carlos Reutemann. Mario Andretti is still fourth in the Alfa Romeo, and Riccardo Patrese is still in fifth place in the Arrows. And in sixth position now it is Hector Ribac, Nelson Piquet's Brabham teammate. In seventh place it is Jacques Laffite in the Talbot. In eighth position it is Eddie Cheever in the Tyrrell. In ninth position Mark Sura. Then 10th is Slim Borgood. In 11th position is Keke Rosberg. And 12th and last is Derek Daly. 12 runners. Derek Daly has, of course, been lapped. And that is Keke Rosberg being followed and about to be lapped by the third position man, Carlos Reutemann. Twelve cars have gone out of, I was going to say retired. One of them, of course, has been forcibly excluded, as we just heard from a bemused Colin Chapman, and as we have seen from a furious Elio De Angelis, for that incident where, according to Colin Chapman, Elio De Angelis was given the black flag, which means come in, and he was then excluded because he had allegedly ignored a yellow warning flag, something unique in motor racing. But anyway, the other 11 cars have retired, and it means now that with the race not even at half distance, half the entry is out, and only 12 runners are left as we look at number 6, Hector Ribac, the Mexican, who is in 6th position. That's Patrese. Now, if there is the nearest we have to a battle at the present moment is what we're looking at now, which is Riccardo Patrese. There he is, the Italian, who incidentally is on Pirelli tyres. There are no less than 4 different makes of tyre in this race: Goodyear, Michelin, Avon and Pirelli. And Patrese goes through, followed by, in 6th position, Hector Ribac. 12 cars spread around the course, and Riccardo Patrese, for the second year in succession, is the unofficial sports car world champion. He was unofficially, there isn't actually a drivers' championship in sports car racing, but had there been one, Riccardo Patrese would have won it with his co-driver last year, and he would have done the same thing this year in a Lancia turbo car. There's Andretti, there is Patrese. That's the 4th, 5th and 6th men that we are looking at. They're quite close to each other on the circuit. Mario Andretti, the oldest man in the race, second only in terms of Grand Prix experience to Carlos Reutemann. There is Patrese in 5th position. There is... And we have just got some unofficial news, which are subject to confirmation, nevertheless, is very good news. And that is, I am very happy to say, that Nelson Piquet apparently has suffered no worse damage than a cracked bone in his leg. And that is very, very good news. He's still at the circuit. They haven't even bothered to take him away from the hospital. It's possibly a cracked bone. It may not even be that. It may just be a very severe bruising and sprain. Very good news then that Nelson Piquet, the brilliant Brazilian, who is currently in 2nd position in the World Championship, apparently suffered no real damage and injury in that very nasty looking crash when he went off at Beckett's corner on lap 12 in this 8-lap race. There's the Arrows, much revised. It has an entirely new rear suspension. It has these new tyres on it. And there, Riccardo Patrese is definitely gaining on number 22, the tremendously experienced Mario Andretti, who is 41 years old in his 119th Grand Prix. Andretti fifth, Patrese fifth, Andretti is fourth, Patrese is fifth, Hector Ribac is in sixth position. In seventh position it is still Jacques Laffite into the chicane. Judge for yourselves. Andretti, Patrese, Hector Ribac, Alfa Romeo, Arrows, Brabham. Patrese chasing Mario Andretti round the left-hander at down to the hangar straight, and leading René Arnoux with a very considerable and comfortable cushion over John Watson. John Watson, who is 7th equal in the World Championship with 10 points. Carlos Reutemann craftily piling up yet more points with another stupefyingly reliable drive in his Williams car. He's only had one retirement this year. This is the Argentine driver. Very quiet, seldom smiles, but has a very, very strong personality, and actually took up rally driving last year when he drove in the Côte d'Azur rally in his own native Argentine, and finished in 3rd place in a Fiat 131 and became, if anything, even more the hero of the Argentine than he was before by demonstrating his versatility. Carlos Reutemann won the South African Grand Prix, which was a non-championship race this year, 2nd at Long Beach, 1st at Brazil, 2nd in the Argentine, 3rd at San Marino, 1st in Belgium. Didn't finish at Monaco, but then was back in the points in Spain with 4th place. Out of the points, but he finished in France, and now he is well up in 3rd position in the race. That would give him 4 points to add to his 37 to increase his World Championship lead over Nelson Piquet, who is out, over Jones, who is out, over Villeneuve, who is out. But Jacques Laffite is still in, but not currently in World Championship point scoring position. We're seeing a lot of Silverstone now with not very much on it, because the mice have got at the entry in the biggest possible way. 24 started, 12 running, and they are very, very spread out. Disappointing at this comparatively early stage, because we are now on lap 38 out of 68, and there's 30 laps to go as we look at the race leader, René Arnoux, going through the chicane in 3rd gear at, believe it or not, 130 miles an hour. Disappointing for the crowd, because they would obviously have hoped to have seen a more competitive race as it was in the early stages, and now it is very, very spread out. Because now René Arnoux is 28 seconds ahead of Watson. Watson is 17 seconds ahead of Reutemann. Reutemann is about 15 seconds ahead of Andretti. Andretti, as we look at Watson in 2nd place, is now less than a second ahead of Riccardo Patrese, and Riccardo Patrese in 5th position is 7 seconds ahead of Hector Ribac. Watson. Lap 39. And as they come out of the chicane in front of us, behind John Watson, the battle between Patrese and Andretti is very much joined. And there it is. Riccardo Patrese then has got ahead of Mario Andretti and the Italian, that is Riccardo Patrese, because although Mario Andretti was born in Italy and stayed there until he was 15 years old before he emigrated with his family to America, he is now a naturalized American. So Riccardo Patrese, the Italian, has scrambled ahead of Mario Andretti. The Arrows now, with its much improved handling, thanks to Dave Wass, the Arrows designer, has got ahead of the 12-cylinder, the V12-cylinder Alfa Romeo, which is a very much revised car, incidentally, not the same one that Andretti drove in France. And the order now on lap 40 out of 68 is René Arnoux leading. In second position, it's John Watson. In third place, it's Reutemann. In fourth place now is Riccardo Patrese. Fifth is Mario Andretti. Sixth is Hector Ribach in the Brabham. Then there is Jacques Lafitte, who is still out of the World Championship points, followed by, in eighth position, Eddie Cheever now in the Tyrrell. Ninth is Sura, and Ribach into the pits. Ribach in sixth position into the pits.
Dear oh dear, we can't afford to lose anymore. We'll have nobody running by the end.
And you can see for yourself what it is. Herbie Blash, the Brabham team manager, leans over and talks to Hector Ribach. It looks as though it is only tyres and nothing else was being done to the car. The near side rear is holding them up. The others have been changed. Up goes the mechanic's hand, out goes the jack, away goes the car. Hector Ribach is into the running, but that means to say now, I think that Jacques Lafitte will have moved up into sixth position, and he has done so. Jacques Lafitte. And there's something flapping on the rear or right side of the rear aerofoil of Hector Ribach's car. The right side of the aerofoil at the back of Hector Ribach's car. It's probably the end plate. There's a good, yes, it's I think actually it's just it may well be just a sticker. It may be just a sticker on the aerofoil. On the other hand, it may be the end plate, in which case it will upset the airflow characteristics over the wing and could therefore affect the handling of the car.
Yes, it is the end plate. I think it's been going like that for some time now, and in fact if it comes off it won't make much difference to the handling of the car, and obviously it will spoil the flow over that side of the wing a little bit, but not so much a problem anyway. He's survived quite well. There's a hare running across the track. That's quite a danger actually at Silverstone, because Silverstone being farmland, there are quite a few rabbits and hares and other little beasties in the fields on the infield of the circuit. And of course, one of those, you saw how tiny it was, but if you hit one of those at 160 miles an hour and it comes up the front of the car and into your face, it would kill somebody for sure, even with the benefit of a crash helmet for protection. So the organisers here at Silverstone do take a lot of trouble actually to drive all the animals out before a big race, well, before all the race meetings, and they make lots of bangs and come and shoot them.
Yes, there was a tragic occurrence in a Belgian Grand Prix many years ago when a driver was hit in the face by a bird, went off the circuit and was killed. But, now, René Arnoux in the Renault completes lap 42. 26 laps to go. The car sounding perfect, looking good. He has now 30 seconds lead, so he's increasing his lead all the time over John Watson. This diminutive little Frenchman, who is actually no bigger than his teammate Alain Prost, who's out of the race. René Arnoux from Magny-Cours, it's his 41st Grand Prix. This man who started his career in karts years ago and went up through Formula Renault in France and Formula 5000 to become the Formula 2 champion of Europe in 1977. Then he had an abortive drive with an extremely unsuccessful French Formula 1 car, the Martini, very successful in Formula 2 and 3, the Martini, but didn't make it in Formula 1. Then John Surtees, the only man ever to have been a world champion on motorcycles and cars, gave René Arnoux his break by giving him a drive in the Surtees team, as a result of which he attracted the attention of Gérard Larousse, the Renault team manager. And René Arnoux took the place in the Renault team. the most of his opportunities, because, as I say, he won in Brazil and South Africa last year, 1980. He finished 6th in the World Championship, but he certainly hasn't had the luck like Alan Jones. It's funny how you can be on top and then, without changing your style or your ability, plummet down. And like Alan Jones, René Arnoux has had a very bad 1980 so far, because the best he has done was to finish 4th in France the weekend before last. But it certainly looks as though he's on his way to victory in the British Grand Prix as we look at Andretti over the skyline. And I have realised, incidentally, that we have seen nothing of Bruno Giaconelli in this race, Mario Andretti's teammate, who disappeared in the very early stages. De Cesaris's car, that is the broken McLaren, the Marlboro McLaren of Andrea De Cesaris, and behind it, you can't quite see it, but behind it is Alan Jones's car, and it's a very, very sad sight. The second Marlboro car of John Watson that was involved in the accident that Andrea De Cesaris's car was also involved with. There's Alan Jones's car, but John Watson managed to make a magnificent return to the circuit, as did Villeneuve, and we're looking at Watson. But unlike Watson's car, which is absolutely unique on the Formula One Grand Prix circuits, because it is made totally out of honeycomb aluminium and Kevlar fibre and is tremendously strong. The Lotus 87 and 88 have a similar construction, but the use of the metal in the Marlboro is unique. And there is Reutemann in 3rd place in the Williams car. And Reutemann now is some 19 seconds behind John Watson. John Watson is 30 seconds behind Arnoux. And Reutemann has got Patrese some 18 seconds behind him. And Patrese is now some 8 seconds ahead of Mario Andretti, with Lafitte in 6th position, Eddie Cheever in 7th place, Mark Surer coming up towards the points in 8th position in the Theodore. Then in 9th position, Hector Ribac, who of course we have seen go into the pits for tyres. In 10th position, it is Slim Borgood in the ATS. And incidentally, it's amazing what the right people can do. Alex. And now, live from Silverstone, you are seeing on the right the race leader René Arnoux lapping the 5th place man Mario Andretti in the Alfa Romeo in this absolutely astounding race, because Piquet went off the course at Beckett's. He was in 3rd position at the time. He went off the course into the catch fencing, and it's been a very bad season for Piquet because he was off in Belgium and at Monaco and at Spain. He was lifted out of the car and over the barriers. The St. John ambulance people were tending to him, and we were very worried because it was obvious that the monocoque was crumpled and that his leg must have been hurt. We've had the good news, however, that apparently the worst that Piquet is likely to have had happen to him is a cracked bone in his leg. There is Piquet's car, and you can see that the wheel, the offside front wheel, has turned into the monocoque, and we are told that the worst that will have happened to him is a cracked bone in his leg. It may not even be that, and it's significant that Piquet is still at the circuit. But the positions now are that in the lead is René Arnoux, and Arnoux is some 27 seconds ahead of Watson, who is in 2nd position that we are looking at now. John Watson on his way to 6 points in the World Championship. In 3rd position is Carlos Reutemann, the World Championship leader. 4th is Riccardo Patrese, who for a long time was behind Mario Andretti in the Alfa Romeo, but fought his way past him. Patrese in the Arrows, Andretti in the Alfa Romeo. In 6th position now is Jacques Laffite, because the man who took 6th position from Elio De Angelis when De Angelis went into the pits, that is to say Hector Ribach in the Brabham, came into the pits to have new tyres, and although he's back in the race, he's a long way down, and Jacques Laffite is therefore in 6th position in the points as we look at Carlos Reutemann. The interesting and significant thing is that Carlos Reutemann, as ever, because he has only had 2 races out of the points this year and has had, I think, 15 finishes out of 17, is on his way to another 4 points in the World Championship if he finishes in 3rd position where he is now, and that will very much increase his World Championship lead, because Piquet is out of the race, and Jones and Villeneuve. Well, if John Watson finishes in 2nd place, it will be the best British result in the British Grand Prix since James Hunt here won it. James, what do you got to say about that?
Well, on that particular occasion, the person I had to fight to win it with was John Watson himself, actually. It was in 1977 the last time. But it would, of course, be marvellous to see John Watson get a win here. There's nothing he's going to be able to do about the Renault, so if he does, it would be an inherited result, of course, which is never quite as satisfying, but he's persevered for 3 years with pretty uncompetitive machinery. The new Marlboro MP4 from the McLaren factory is an extremely competitive car now. It's going very, very well on the fast circuits. It always looked good from the time they introduced it. They weren't quite so good on the slow tracks, and Watson has got back all his old power. He was driving magnificently in the early part of the race, as those of you who were with us would have seen earlier on. He was tangled up in the incident when Villeneuve spun in the middle of the pack. He got going again. He then made a couple of terrific overtaking manoeuvres with every bit of the old Irish fire that he used to show, and let's hope that he can get a win, if not today, very soon. It would certainly be very gratifying. I'm getting a bit tired of being called the last British driver to win a Grand Prix. It's been going on far too long, even for my liking.
Well, we are now on lap 51, and here are the positions. René Arnoux, who incidentally has made the fastest lap here at 1:15.1, 1 minute 15.1, as we look at Hector Ribach, who was at one time in 6th position and is now in again for yet another tyre change. The near side front takes a tremendous pounding at Silverstone, and we're looking at René Arnoux, fastest lap of the race, 1 minute 15.1 seconds, a speed of 140.6 miles an hour, which significantly has not broken Clay Regazzoni's lap record in the Williams, which he put up in 1979, 2 years ago. So that is an indication of how little the Renault is being pressed. René Arnoux leading then, John Watson in second position, Reutemann in third place. Patrese in the Arrows is in fourth place. In fifth position is Mario Andretti, who is in the background in your picture. In sixth position is Jacques Lafitte. Seventh is Eddie Cheever. In eighth position is Mark Surer. Then ninth and a long way adrift is Hector Rybak, followed in 10th position by Slim Borgud in the ATS. In 11th position is Keke Rosberg, and last in 12th position, 24 cars started, 12 are running, and the 12th place man is Derek Daly in the march. As we look at the leader, René Arnoux, who has again lapped Hector Rybak in the Brabham. Down Woodcote, through the chicane.
Yes, I'm just listening to the Renault of Arnoux as he went past, and his engine sounds distinctly rough. Of course, a broken exhaust pipe could sound pretty rough, but of course on a turbo that's rather critical. And if we can watch the car now, he's got Rybak behind him. If he's lost power, yes, Rybak is keeping right up with him, and it looks as if Arnoux may be in trouble, because Rybak's keeping up with him very well indeed.
This could be tremendously significant. If Rybak gets past Arnoux, that will indicate that, and he's doing it, Arnoux is in trouble. Arnoux is definitely on lap 53 in trouble. If Rybak can get ahead of him and catch him and pass him, John Watson, who is in second position, can do the same thing. Yes, so we're going to have our watches working overtime now. The gap between Watson and Arnoux was 24 seconds. Arnoux in trouble.
Yes, the significant thing there was that, yes, you can see it again, the Brabham is actually pulling away from the Renault on the straight, and the Renault engine was sounding a bit sick, and it seems to be getting sicker, if anything. He's coming past they're just coming up to our commentary position now. I'll take my cans off and have a listen.
And as he goes past, I'm starting to stop Watson. He's very definitely in trouble. The car is visually going slower. The engine is labouring. The watch is ticking away. It's now 10 seconds. And John Watson is coming up to the chicane. John Watson is up to and into the chicane, and as he goes across the line, the gap is 17 seconds. John Watson has reduced the gap between himself and René Arnoux by 7 seconds from 24 to 17. It's lap 54. We could be looking at a British winner of the British Grand Prix, but there are still 14 laps to go. The race, which seemed to have gone to sleep on us, must have heard us, and it has woken up with a vengeance. Stoer out, Alboreto out, Villeneuve, Jones, De Cesaris out, Piquet crashed, Pironi out, Prost out, De Angelis out, Rybak into and out of the pits, and now is the race leader René Arnoux in the second of the two turbocharged Renaults in enough trouble. Here's Mario Andretti closing up on that. That's Watson that we're looking at, but as they come into the chicane, it was 17 seconds on the previous lap, and I'm going to time the gap again. Mario Andretti, the American, the man who has won at Indianapolis twice, is going to take René Arnoux as John Watson comes up to the chicane. He goes through it, there he is, and the gap is down to 13 seconds. From 24 down from 7 to 17, from 17 to 13.
Yes, well, at this rate, Watson's going to catch him easily. That, of course, is if Arnoux's car doesn't get any sicker. I should think Arnoux now is no longer worrying about winning the race, but he's worried about limping home to complete the remaining laps. I think it could be the same trouble that his teammate Alain Prost had. I believe Alain Prost came in as Andretti unlapping himself. We saw Arnoux lap him quite recently, so he's going backwards on the track, as it were, relative to the other cars. Alain Prost retired with some sort of plug trouble earlier with his engine, so maybe the Renault turbos have developed a little disease on their ignition systems.
I don't know who the marshal was giving the blue flag to. If he was giving it to René Arnoux, there's not much chance of Arnoux catching and passing Andretti. They're coming up to a lap. Now, I remind you, the gap was 24 seconds 3 laps ago. It came down to 17. Then it was 13. Arnoux has passed my timing point, and I look down the course and I see John Watson coming up to the chicane in the Marlborough. There he is out of it, and the gap is 10 seconds. So John Watson is gaining on Arnoux at the rate of 3 seconds a lap. That means to say that in 3 laps' time he will be right on the tail of Arnoux. 3 laps' time will be lap 59, and there are 68 laps in this race. Real drama and excitement.
Well, we can tell you, James and Murray, that the problem is almost certainly exhaust. And as you know, if the exhaust goes on the turbo car, it is no longer a turbo car, it's a normally aspirated car, so he's virtually running a 1500cc car, and the Renault people here are furious that he hasn't come into the pits to get it fixed.
To be fair to René Arnoux, I suppose they know better than I do, but I don't know what you can do to fix it. But there they are. There are the furious henchmen of René Arnoux standing in serried ranks in the pits, waiting to give him a good wigging when he comes in. But he's coming through to complete another lap now, and over the line he goes. The 1.5 litre normally aspirated Renault is slowing all the time. John Watson crosses the line now, and the gap is down to 8 seconds. Only 8 seconds separate René Arnoux, the race leader, and John Watson in second place on lap 57. There is Arnoux. Andretti ahead of him. Watch for the flash of red and white of John Watson as they come down the Hangar Straight. We'll be able to look up the Hangar Straight at Arnoux. There is Andretti. There is the race leader, René Arnoux. Watch for John Watson. Look at the top of your picture. There is John Watson. He's on his way. Well, I've talked about patriotic, chauvinistic crowds many times from the continent. We've got one here. We've got a patriotic, chauvinistic British crowd here at the moment. And the man that they are mentally in the cockpit with, willing on every wheel turn in this race, is John Watson, 35 years old, the Ulsterman, who currently lives in London, and he also has a home in Bognor Regis. 17 years of racing experience, 116 Grand Prix, only one victory behind him so far, and that is the victory that he won in 1976 in Austria. 2 pole positions, however, one of them at Monaco. And this year he started off brilliantly in South Africa. There is Arnoux. And Arnoux now is on his way. He's not losing much distance to Mario Andretti. There's Watson. Now you'll see now the gap as they come into Hangar Straight. Compare it on this lap, which is lap 58, with the previous lap. There are Andretti and Arnoux. And there is John Watson.
His Arnoux's car doesn't seem to be getting worse. In fact, he's lapping rather quicker now than he was at first. Very often when something goes wrong with your car, you have to sort of learn it again, and he's got much less power, and he's now settled down and got into the groove because he's, as Murray pointed out, he hasn't lost. Andretti unlacked himself and he's now hanging on nicely to him. Of course, the draft from another car, if he's lost all that power, will help him a bit. But Watson is closing steadily, inexorably, and can't fail unless Arnoux's car suddenly repairs itself and something weird happens. Can't fail to catch him by the end, and he's not going to have trouble passing a car that's down on power.
Well, on your way, Watty, there is Arnoux completing the lap over the line, and Watson now is 4 seconds. Watson has got René Arnoux in his sights. And there is the Frenchman running wide, and see the programmes rippling round the course. There are programmes waving all the way from the stands now, and you'll probably see them going again at Stowe. The crowd is urging Arnoux on. There goes the Frenchman. There is the Ulsterman, John Watson, second position. Round the sweep at Beckett's, into Chapel Curve. Down the Hangar Straight comes René Arnoux. This is lap 59. The race length, 68 laps. heat haze rising from the turbos. Watson rides wide as he comes out of the left-hander at Stowe, goes down to the right-hander at Stowe, down to the right-hander at Club Corner. The Union Jack waves in the background. They're up to Abbey Curve now, the 160-mile-an-hour left-hander to Woodcote and the chicane. There's Arnoux into the chicane. There is John Watson behind him, and the time gap between Arnoux in the Renault, Watson in the Marlborough is 2.52 seconds. John Watson has been tremendously bullish about this race ever since Spain. He said the car was coming good, it was third. Then he finished in second place in France, and he said it's getting better all the time. I'm very confident about a win in the British Grand Prix, but his car didn't go as well in practice as he hoped it would. I was talking to John Barnard, the car's designer, and he said they hadn't been too happy with the car in the warm-up period this morning, but they'd done one or two things to it that they hoped would make a difference, and my goodness, they certainly seem to have. Although don't forget that it's a stricken Renault that René Arnoux is driving. Mario Andretti has unlapped himself and is still in fifth position behind Patrese. The Union Jacks waving again. The race leader, Arnoux. In second place, Watson. In third place, Reutemann. In fourth place, Patrese. In fifth place, Mario Andretti. And there's going to be a change of lead right in front of the grandstand on the main part of the course. Out of the chicane, there's no time difference here. And Watson is right up behind the gearbox of René Arnoux. Into Copse. But no, I thought there was going to be a change there.
Yes, no rush, Watty, no rush, please don't. It's the car's down on power. He doesn't have to take any risks. He can wait for his moment. Look, now he's got him. He's going to outbrake him easily into Beckett's and away.
John Watson, the man from Ulster, leads the 1981 British Grand Prix on lap 61 out of 68. Arnoux, of course, will inevitably drop back. He is now in second position. And still in third place, don't forget, with a flurry, a great sea of programmes waving all round the course, urging John Watson on. Not that he'll see them, of course, but do you see them, James?
Oh, no, you feel them. And there's Mario Andretti. His car broke down just as that battle was reaching ahead. He dropped out of sight almost unnoticed. No, you feel the atmosphere, Murray. You see all the arms wave, even if you only catch it out of the corner of your eye. It's a great lifter, and it's a terrific moment in a driver's career to take the lead there. All the Union Jacks waving, the crowd all waving, to take the lead in your home Grand Prix. You don't hear it, but by God, you feel it.
And the crowd rises magnificently as John Watson comes out of the chicane. Literally thousands of spectators stood up in the grandstand, and a great roar of approval went up as the programmes waved. John Watson surely on his way to the second Grand Prix in his long career, having won at Austria in the Penske car in 1976, and having gone through all sorts of misfortunes. For the last 2 years, he was rubbished and written off by far too many people in a situation where the car he was driving, regrettably, wasn't as good as John was. But now that he's got this new John Barnard and Ron Dennis-backed car, this carbon fibre chassis Marlborough, he's really made the most of it, race by race. And there's a sign of the times. More waving hands, more Union Jacks, lap 62. Watson leads, Arnoux is second, up into third place with the disappearance of Mario Andretti goes Riccardo Patrese, up into fourth place goes Jacques Lafitte, in fifth position now is Eddie Cheever, and in sixth position in the points now, coming up well, is Mark Sewell. Well, John Watson looking incredibly composed and relaxed. The car has handled magnificently every foot of the race, and as you see, the time difference now after that really emotional moment when once again we had a British driver leading our own Grand Prix. John Watson has just steadily pulled away from René Arnoux. I don't think Arnoux is going to lose his second place. The time difference, 2.8 seconds, and that's Mark Surer coming into the pits, and Mark Surer is now out of the race, and he was coming up into 6th position on the pit straight behind Mario Andretti's car, and the race leader John Watson on his 63rd lap, just completing it. He therefore has another 4 laps to go, including the lap that he's on, as he closes up on Jean-Pierre Jarier in the Osella, the Frenchman, number 32, who has driven probably for more Grand Prix teams than anybody else. Well, let us remember that John Watson made a magnificent recovery in the opening stages of the race, lap 5 in fact, when Villeneuve went off at Woodcote coming out of the chicane. He lost it, and Watson now, we're looking at closing up on Jarier. Villeneuve lost the Ferrari coming out of Woodcote. He took off with him Alan Jones, Andrea De Cesaris and John Watson. But Watson made a superb recovery in a car that had not been damaged. Villeneuve recovered, but his car didn't. It was very sick indeed, as a result of which Jones, De Cesaris and Villeneuve went out of the race. Jones went on, albeit well down, and obviously must have been a bit rattled mentally, but he has fought back superbly in an undamaged and magnificent motor car, and he's coming through now to complete his 64th lap into the chicane and out of it. And the time difference between John Watson and Arnoux stopping. As I talk, as Arnoux crosses the line, he stops on the pit straight. Halfway down the pit straight, there is his engine just exploded. It gave a great boom as it went past me. And that means with there's 3 cars. There is Mark Surer's car, Mario Andretti's car, and René Arnoux' car. And there we have now a new second place man, because up into second place will go Carlos Reutemann. The Reutemann has done it again. More points.
Yes, Reutemann just cruising around piling up points this year. He hasn't done. There is Carlos Reutemann. He's up into second place, so he's going to pick up 6 more points for the World Championship. None of his main rivals are challenging in this race. His nearest rival, in fact, they're just about all that, but so he's just going to extend his lead by 6 more points, assuming that things finish as they are. So Reutemann is now beginning to look in a very strong position, particularly, of course, if Nelson Piquet has suffered any bone damage and has to go out for a few races. So we've got to hope that Piquet certainly is going to be fit to drive straight away again.
Into the chicane, out of it, number 7, the man, it's John Watson. He has completed now his 65th lap. He has 3 laps to go. Lap 66, which he is on. Lap 67 and then lap 68. He has now a very considerable lead over Carlos Reutemann, who is in second place on his way to 6 points. Well, also, not only the car and the driver, but the engine, because John Watson's car is propelled by one of the incredible Ford V8 engines designed by Keith Duckworth, which have been winning Grand Prix for a long, long time now, since that's Patrese car. Well, I find it extremely difficult to keep up with the British Grand Prix, because now Riccardo Patrese, who was in 4th position, is out of the race. I keep a note of the people that go out of the race, and my piece of paper is rapidly now being covered with names. Watson through, another lap completed, and that means to say that with Patrese out, up into 6th place will go Slim Borgud, the Swedish rock drummer, who now, under the leadership of Alistair Caldwell in the ATS team, the man who used to be with Brabham, has really got the ATS going superbly well, and Borgud is making the most of it. But here's the man that's making the most of his opportunity. He's on lap 87, this 67, lap 67 in this 68 lap race. This is the penultimate, the last lap but one for John Watson. down the Hanger Straight. You could cut the tension here with a cricket stump, because everybody is living on their nerve ends, watching this man drive round the circuit, willing him on. There's nothing wrong with a British crowd wanting a British driver to win. It's a long time since that has happened, and it could be happening in the next few minutes, because at the end of this, the 67th lap, with John Watson coming up now towards Woodcote, under the bridge and into the chicane. It will be to start his last lap. You can see a flurry of movement in the crowd, and I would expect them to go berserk with excitement on this, the 68th lap. Let's watch John Watson round on what so many people here are hoping is his victory lap.
Yes, he'll still be biting his nails. As a driver, you never think you've won till you've won, because it's too risky to think so. He's worried about running out of petrol, something falling off the car and things. He'll be taking it very slowly. He's got bags of time, but apart from the little worries and things, he'll be very much enjoying this lap. He's not under pressure. He won't be feeling nearly as tired as he was when he was running in second place a little while ago.
And there is René Arnoux, the man who for so long looked as though he had got the race in his pocket, but he hadn't. The turbo let him down, and John Watson is now on lap 68 out of 68. This is the victory lap. They know it, he knows it, we know it. He's only got half a lap to go, less than half a lap to go, because it is from Abbey Curve up to Woodcote, under the bridge, into the chicane. He's won because he could coast home now. Into the chicane, the crowd roars, and the British Grand Prix has been won by a British car with a British driver. His name, John Watson, and there's the victory salute.
Oh, what a marvellous way to wrap up the British Grand Prix. John Watson having his first win for several years. His comeback has been slow and steady this year. He's worked really hard. He's driven better and better after his 3 or 4 years in the doldrums and inadequate machinery, and his reward has been paid off with his first win for a long time being a home win.
Yes, John must really be savouring these moments, because he has lived the bitterness of criticism and people saying that he was over the hill and that he should be replaced, that he wasn't up to it. But he kept faith with himself all the time. Never once did his belief in John Watson waver. Never once was he at all arrogant about the motor cars, and this is a wonderful sight too. The crowd flooding to the barriers as much they can. John's faith in himself never wavered, and as soon as he got the right car, he just quietly set about with Ron Dennis and with John Barnard and all the other fine mechanics in the Marlboro McLaren team, getting that car right, and how well he has done it. And he has done in this race exactly what he said he was going to do a month ago, because when he mounted the victory rostrum at Jarama in Spain, he got off it and said, third in Spain, it's getting better. Then he was second in France, and he said, I feel very confident about winning the British Grand Prix. And he's done it. He's fulfilled every expectation that those who had faith in him here had, especially himself. John Watson then, winner of the British Grand Prix of 1981, in second position and increasing his lead in the World Championship, Carlos Reutemann in the Williams. In third place, it's Jacques Lafitte, who came right up in the closing stages.
So, ladies and gentlemen, they are